Have you ever noticed how, like, when one thing goes right, it's like suddenly everything seems to be going your way? Like
Right.
you're on a lucky streak.
Totally.
And then other times, you spill your coffee, miss the bus, and it's like the universe is playing some cruel joke on you.
Yeah,
It really makes you wonder if this whole energy thing is more than just a saying, you know?
it really does. And the idea that like our thoughts can somehow influence our reality is not new at all.
Oh, really?
The law of attraction, as it's called, actually has roots going back to the early 20th century.
Hmm.
We actually found some fascinating writings about it from as far back as 1906.
No way. See, I knew it wasn't just some new age fad.
Yeah.
So, for today's deep dive, we're taking a closer look at this law of attraction with Michael J. Losier's book, Law of Attraction, the science of attracting more of what you want and less of what you don't.
Great book.
I gotta admit, sometimes this stuff can sound a bit out there,
Yeah,
but Losier's book really breaks it down in a practical, easy to understand way.
it really does. Lucier's background in neurolinguistic programming, NLP, definitely shines through in his approach.
NLP. Cool. So, no better guide for us as we try to reprogram our own minds, I guess. But before we get into all that, let's start with the basics. What exactly is the law of attraction?
Okay, at its core, the law of attraction suggests that our thoughts and feelings emit what Losier calls vibrations.
Okay.
It's like sending out a signal.
Okay.
And the universe, being this neutral energy field, simply responds with more of that same energy.
Hmm.
And the key here is that it works both ways.
Okay.
You attract what you focus on, whether it's positive or are negative.
Okay, so kind of like a boomerang.
Exactly.
What you send out comes right back to you.
Exactly. And that's where Losier's concept of the observation cycle comes into play.
Okay.
He argues that even unintentionally noticing what we don't want sends a powerful message out into the universe.
So even if it's not intentional, like focusing on the negative still brings more negativity.
Unfortunately, yeah.
I think I need an example because now I'm really starting to worry about manifesting bad things.
Of course.
Yeah.
Losier uses this great example in his book. Imagine you're worried about money, right?
Yeah.
So you open your wallet almost expecting it to be empty. And what happens?
It is.
It is.
Ouch. Yeah, I've totally been there. That's scary how often that seems to happen.
It is. Because whether we're consciously aware of it or not, we're constantly sending out these signals based on what we're focused on.
Hmm.
The law of attraction is always operating, even in the background.
Okay, I get it. Like, I'm picking up what you're putting down, but this is a lot to process.
Right.
It's empowering to know my thoughts have this power, but now I'm thinking about all the times I've accidentally manifested the wrong things.
I hear you. It really is a lot to wrap your head around.
Hmm.
But that's where understanding how this really works can be super helpful. And luckily, Losier gives us some really concrete tools
Okay, good.
for working with the law of attraction, not against it.
Okay, because I was just thinking, if I'm responsible for all this, how do I get a handle on it? What can I actually do to start manifesting the things I want?
Well, Losier digs into that.
Particularly focusing on the power of language.
Makes sense. I mean, our words literally shape our reality all day long, right?
Absolutely.
We tell stories, make plans, vent to our friends. It's constant.
Exactly. Losier emphasizes how intricately our words and thoughts are connected. Every word forms a thought. Those thoughts spark feelings, and those feelings are what we're sending out into the universe.
So, like, if I'm constantly complaining about being broke,
Then you're broadcasting that broke message loud and clear.
oh no.
And the universe, in its neutral way, is like, coming right up, got it, more broke.
Okay, ouch. That is so not what I want to be putting out there.
Well,
Which is why I'm really curious about Losier's take on negative words. He's got that whole thing about saying don't, not, or no.
right. And this part is fascinating because it highlights how our minds can work against us.
Think about if you're saying, I don't want to be broke. What's the dominant message the universe is getting?
Broke. It's like that classic example he uses, don't think of the Statue of Liberty. What's the first thing that pops into your head?
Exactly. Our minds tend to latch onto the thing we're told not to think about.
It's so true.
It's like our brains have this reverse psychology button we accidentally keep hitting.
Yeah.
So constantly focusing on what you don't want
Mm.
ends up sending out those unwanted vibrations.
Right.
And guess what the neutral law of attraction does?
Right.
It's like, more of that. Okay, you got it.
That's such a good point. So how do we stop shooting ourselves in the foot like this? How do we shift from focusing on what we don't want to attracting what we do want?
Well, that's where Losier's action plan comes in. He lays out this 3-step formula that seems surprisingly simple.
Okay.
But, like with anything worthwhile, It takes effort to actually implement it in our daily lives.
Okay, walk me through it. What's step one?
Step one is to identify your desire.
Okay.
And this isn't just about vaguely wishing for things.
Right.
It's about getting crystal clear on what you actually want.
Okay.
To help with this, Losier has this cool worksheet called Clarity Through Contrast,
Okay.
where you essentially write down what you don't want and then flip it to figure out its opposite.
So, like, instead of saying, I don't want to be stuck in traffic, I'd say, I want a smooth and enjoyable commute.
Exactly. It's about using contrast to gain clarity.
Okay.
Then, step two is where you give your desire attention.
Okay.
This is where Losier introduces the concept of the vibrational bubble.
Ooh, I like it.
He says we each have this bubble around us, and what we put in it is what we attract.
Okay.
So if I'm constantly complaining about my job, even if I say I want a new one, my vibrational bubble is full of
Terrible job energy.
terrible job energy, which unfortunately means you're more likely to keep attracting similar experiences.
Ouch. Yeah, that tracks. Okay, so we're clear on what we desire. We're consciously giving it our attention. What's the third step?
Step three is allow it.
Okay.
Losier argues that this is the step where most people get tripped up.
Really?
It's not about forcing things to happen. It's about removing the resistance we often have to receiving what we want,
Okay.
because that resistance itself is a vibration.
So even if we're thinking positive thoughts, if deep down we don't believe it's possible, we're still putting up those roadblocks.
Exactly. And that can be challenging because we often have years of limiting beliefs telling us why we can't have nice things. You know, those thoughts like, I'll never get that promotion, or I'm not lucky enough to find true love. It takes a real effort to shift those deeply ingrained beliefs.
It really is. It's kind of like those limiting beliefs sneak up on you and really hold you back.
Yeah.
But it's exciting to think about, like, how to let go of that resistance.
Right.
And actually allow good things to flow into my life.
It is exciting.
Oh.
And the good news is Losier doesn't just leave us hanging with this concept.
Okay, good.
His book is full of tools and techniques designed specifically to help us strengthen that allowing muscle, which really resonated with me.
I bet.
He has worksheets, specific phrases to use. It's like a toolkit for rewiring your brain.
It totally is. It's like he encourages creating what he calls allowing statements.
Yeah.
So instead of focusing on why something can't happen,
Right.
he says to look for evidence that it can.
Exactly. He suggests asking yourself, has anyone else achieved what I want, even if they faced similar challenges? And if the answer is yes, and it almost always is,
Right.
then you start to chip away at that doubt.
That's a good point.
He's all about shifting that perspective from impossible to I'm ready to receive it.
I love that. Okay, so we've covered the 3 core steps. Identify your desire, give it attention, and allow it.
Right.
But what I really love about this book is that it's packed with other really practical and actionable tips that you can start using right away.
Absolutely. And they're so clever and creative. One of my favorites is the Book of Proof.
Ooh, yeah, that one sounds intriguing. What is that exactly?
It's such a simple but powerful idea.
Okay.
Losier suggests keeping a journal where you record even the smallest pieces of evidence that the law of attraction is working in your life.
Okay.
It could be finding a parking spot right when you need it,
Yeah.
receiving an unexpected compliment,
Right.
or even just having a really great hair day.
Right. Oh, I love
It's
it.
just those little things.
It's like training your brain to notice those little wins that we so often just completely overlook.
Exactly.
I can see how that would really shift your perspective over time.
Exactly. And the more you focus on the evidence that things are working, the more you begin to trust the process.
Right.
You start to relax and let go of that resistance you were talking about.
Okay, that one is going straight into my to-do list. Start a book of proof. Check. What else did you flag as super useful? There was something in here about money.
Oh, yes. Losier has a whole section on attracting abundance.
Okay.
And one of the simplest but most profound things he says is to always say yes to money.
I love the sound of that already, but
Yeah.
practically speaking, what does that actually look like?
Well, it means recognizing that abundance comes in many forms, not just your paycheck.
Okay.
So if a friend offers to treat you to lunch, accept it gracefully.
Okay.
If someone gives you a gift, receive it with joy. Don't downplay it.
Don't be like, oh, you shouldn't have,
Exactly.
when someone's just trying to be generous.
Yeah. It's all about shifting your vibration from one of lack to one of abundance. Really savoring and appreciating the flow of money into your life, no matter how small. He even suggests like holding on to checks for a little while before cashing them, just to really sit with that feeling of abundance.
Oh, that's good. Okay, see, that's the kind of stuff I love about Losier's approach. It's practical. We've just scratched the surface of all the tools and techniques Losier covers in his book, but I feel like this deep dive has given me such a solid foundation to start experimenting with the law of attraction in my own life. Any final thoughts before we wrap things up?
What I find most encouraging about Losier's work is that he reminds us that this abundance, this positive energy, it's already out there.
It is.
It's not about creating it from scratch, but rather aligning ourselves to receive it. And that's true for everything, not just money, love, opportunities, joy. It's all there waiting for us to simply tune in.
I love that. Okay, so to sum it all up for our listeners, what if even the smallest shifts in how we think and talk about our day could start to subtly shift what shows up in our day? Losier's book is jam-packed with tons more tools and techniques, but we hope this deep dive has given you a starting point to experiment with the law of attraction and see what amazing things you can manifest in your life.